What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for October 21st, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Victory Monday edition, a very convincing, solid, sound Victory Monday. We'll get more into the Eagles here in a minute, but first, a few housekeeping notes. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok, at PhillyJimbo on Instagram. And I really do need to just kind of figure out a way to mesh them all the same. But I'll work on that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Tell your friends. Spread the word. Let's continue to grow this thing. We are making big moves here, and it's all because of you. So I thank you for that. But subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a comment. Leave a review. Whatever you need to do. And that all plays into the algorithm, whatever that means. Still have not been able to figure that out in over 3 years, but whatever. If you need more information on the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, that information is in the description. We are slowly inching our way toward the induction ceremony on November 7th. I have a few meetings this week to finalize some things, doing a walkthrough down at Live Casino. Things are coming together, so any information you need is in the description, and we will start our inductee spotlight later this week. Then go check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Should be a good one on Thursday when this new episode drops after that beatdown of the New York Football Giants. So anxious to see what Topher has to say about that. But that is available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. And then go to Philly Goat, celebrate the victory with some new Eagles gear. They have a ton, like literally a ton. They even have the canvas loafers that I wore over the weekend with jeans, even though it was way too hot for jeans, but that's a whole other story. But they pair well with jeans. They have the Reggies. Go check it out. The canvas loafers. Get some gear for the Eagles, and that's phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off. All right, so let's get into this game. And my first initial takeaway was this was the game we wanted last week. Week late, doesn't matter. But it's hard to pick this game apart. I mean, was it perfect? Absolutely not. But from start to finish, for the most part, top to bottom, they outplayed the Giants the entire game. 269 rushing yards. So it appeared to me that the plan was, let's punch the Giants in the face and see how they respond. And it was definitely a success because the Giants had nothing. Absolutely nothing in response. Jalen Hurts, he was efficient. I think that is what you needed when you're pounding the rock that much in a game like this and so many running yards. He was effective in the run game. I think he was 11 for 14 passing. That pass to AJ, I'll give him credit where credit is due. There was some nice touch on that pass. He did miss a couple open receivers and held the ball too long on a couple occasions, which seems to be, like, I don't know why. When we said this a couple times in a couple of my text chains, I don't know why he just doesn't throw the ball out of bounds. But, hey, cannot be mad at Jalen. Did not turn the ball over. Like I said, it's hard to – I feel like I'm nitpicking if I'm going to start picking apart what they did wrong. But there are definitely some things to clean up. They were not good on third down. I think they only converted one of like 15, 16, 17, somewhere in that range. But they were 3 for 3 on fourth down. So I guess in a game where the flow dictated that they were running the ball more, not ideal, but again, not necessarily something that you're going to pick apart after a sound beatdown that they had. They were better and decent in the red zone. So like I said, overall, it's hard to pick the offense apart. They did what they had to do. They had a game plan. I would not be opposed to continuing to see that game plan where they're just pounding the rock because Kenny Gainwell played well when he was coming in to spell Saquon. But the defense continued to roll. And this was definitely a step up from where the Browns were. So everybody who was like, oh, well, they had the good pass rush and dominated the Browns, who are a bad offense. Not that the Giants are great offense, but their offensive line certainly is better than the Browns. 8 sacks. But more importantly, I felt that the secondary played outstanding, specifically Quinyon Mitchell, because there was literally Daniel Jones had no place to throw the ball to. And I think a lot of times we talk about the pass rush setting up the secondary. I think in this case it was the secondary allowing the pass rush to get after Daniel Jones because there was nobody to throw to. Malik Neighbors had a couple of catches, and it's like, okay, but they had nobody could get open. And kudos to the secondary. Slay was playing basically on one leg, played well. Cooper DeJean played pretty decent. The safeties, it was a cover 4 almost, so he had the safeties back. So they weren't allowing them to beat them deep, but credit to C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship for making sure nobody was getting deep. But overall, great defensive effort by this team. I'll take it. 2 in a row. I told you, I felt like they were on the brink. This was a pivotal game because I could have seen them going down. I think they come out next week, go to Cincinnati, and play well again and continue to grow and build upon this. But overall, again, it's hard to pick this apart. Nick Sirianni was good. I mean, a lot of people were questioning the going for it on 4th and 2, but I like that decision there instead of kicking the field goal because you were deep in Giants territory and, well, not deep, but that was a momentum swinger. Obviously, that pretty much ended the game, and I like it because it was aggressive, but it also sent your defense a message that you're able to, you trust them to do what they were doing. And truthfully, they were dominating. If the defense wasn't playing well, then I say kick the field goal. But in that situation, I was perfectly fine with going for it, and it paid off in a touchdown. I know people were like, oh, here we go again. But that's Nick Sirianni. And when it works, it works. And obviously early in the season it didn't work, but I'll give credit to Nick as well. I mean, that was a ballsy call, and I like it because basically you put the nail in the coffin on that game. And even if you don't get that, the way your defense was playing, you're likely getting the ball back. So I think it was a twofold thing. He went for the kill, and that's something we've talked about with this team in the past where they don't finish teams off, and we can't have it both ways here. And I think that 4th and 2, going for it, getting it, pretty much finished the Giants off and put the game away. And it also sent that message to your defense that, hey, I trust you. And it might not seem like it to us, but that's huge when people tell, like, so the way they were playing, I'm fine with that. Nick Sirianni was going. Let's keep that momentum going out in Cincinnati. Let's go back and revisit the 3 keys to the game. I say get Saquon going early and often. Saquon had 17 rushes for 176 yards and a touchdown. That's you heard that right. That's a 10 yards per carry average, and this is what kind of guy Saquon Barkley is. He was 13 yards away from his career high, and Nick Sirianni said, I was aware of it, went over and talked to Saquon, and Saquon said, nah, let the other guys eat. We're up 28-3 or whatever it was. So kudos to Saquon for putting the team first, and I was worried that they were going to put him in and then something stupid was going to happen. So kudos to Nick Sirianni also for not putting him in. But the first key to the game was getting Saquon involved, and you could tell no matter what he said, this game meant something to Saquon. Second key was get off to a fast start. That certainly did not happen. It was an ugly game for the first quarter. It didn't cost them because of how good the defense was playing, but this is starting to become an issue. We need to figure this out. Like, they need to. I don't know what that means and why they're starting off. Maybe they got to move away from the script and just wing it. I don't know. Go improv. I don't know, because these are the scripted plays that aren't working. So to me, it blows my mind that you can't execute the plays that you've been working all week in practice on. And the fact that I've heard a lot of former players say, whether it be for ESPN, on WIP, whatever it is, that a lot of times defensive guys, that's their biggest concern is that first 15, because they know they're going to come out and execute it sharp. The Eagles just aren't doing that. And I don't know. Once again, it did not cost them. But, I mean, that's something that needs to get cleared up. And then the third key to the game was pressure Daniel Jones. Yeah, they certainly did that. Sacked Daniel Jones 7 times. He had only 99 yards passing, had no time. And kudos, part of that, like I said, goes to the secondary who didn't allow anybody to get open. But we hit 2 of the 3 keys to the game. We'll take it. No turnovers. We'll see. There are some things I think still that need to be cleaned up, like getting off to a fast start. We're not getting any turnovers on defense, but that's all right. I mean, this is a work in progress. The defense is playing pretty much right now how I expected them to come out of the bye. So I want to see them do it again now in Cincinnati with better receivers. Jamar Chase is the real deal. Joe Burrow is a legitimate starting quarterback. So, and that was definitely a not so veiled shot at Daniel Jones. I love beating the Giants. By the way, nothing like I would much rather beat the Giants 28-3 than the Cowboys 28-3. And I know that shutouts are the big thing, but to me, like I don't know, when I was a kid, I always thought like when you lost like 30-3, it was more embarrassing than losing 30-0 because it's like 3 you tried and you were only able to get 3. At least with a shutout, you just didn't do a thing. And I know my mind is warped that way, but nothing beats beating the Giants like that. I absolutely love it. But let's keep that momentum going in Cincinnati. And that leads us to today's question of the day. I think I already know the answer to this, but who was the GOAT of the game? Was it Jalen Hurts, who ran for 2 touchdowns, threw for another? Saquon, who had a monster day, 176 yards and a touchdown? Nakobe Dean, who played well and seemed like he was all over the field with a couple sacks? Or Jalen Carter, who is a stud still in the making, had 2 sacks himself. I think he had like 3 or 4 tackles. I think I know where everybody's going to go with this, but who is the GOAT of the game? 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Leave your thoughts on the game. What needs to be cleaned up heading into Cincinnati, but let me know, who is the GOAT? Is it Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Nakobe Dean, or Jalen Carter? You know where my vote's going. I'm pretty sure I know where your vote's going. But get in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get anything Philly sports related off your chest. Good victory. Let's move on to Cincinnati. We won our bet too, by the way, which brings our record to 3-3 on the season. But Eagles 4-2 heading into Cincinnati. Let's go. All right, let's continue with our Sixers preview. We're going to bring it down a little bit, but I've been saying it the whole time. And ultimately, it comes down to their health. And I know they have plans. Nobody's come out and said it directly. But Joe mentioned that he's probably not going to play in back-to-back for the rest of his career. Paul George probably is not going to play in back-to-backs, which is fine. Just not sure what that's going to look like. Does that mean Paul George plays in the first game, Joe in the second, vice versa, or they both play in the first game, not in the second, or depending on how the standings or whatever play out or what the game is. But they do have 15 back-to-backs this year, and I'm okay with that. I know I saw a thing just this morning that Kevin Garnett went on a rant, ripping him for it. He was like, the job is effing 82 games, suck it up. And listen, man, it is what it is. It's a different NBA. 20 years ago, I probably would have said quit being soft as well. But this team has championship or bust. So if it takes them not playing in the second half of a back-to-back, okay, that's fine with me. It's just you got to adapt, and this is where we are in the NBA. But I'm okay with them not playing in the back-to-backs because, as we talked about yesterday, the bench is deeper. And that's huge. And I think a lot's going to come down to what Tyrese wants. Does he want to continue to get better? I think he's one of the hardest working guys on the team. And I think he's going to have a chance to shine in those games where Joe and Paul George do not play. And I think that's why they signed him to the extension they did, and why he is considered one of the best. Like, I think you have 3 legit stars on this team, and I'm okay with him leading, especially with how deep the bench is. You said, because we definitely are going to have to win some of those second games of back-to-backs. But I think it all comes down to Nick Nurse, how he manages it, how he wants to sort of do it. I guess a lot is going to be dependent upon the schedule. You don't necessarily want to say, okay, you're automatically sitting out this game, this game, this game. But he wants to run, and I think with the bench depth, that's going to be key. And I think it's just keeping those guys fresh and how he wants to do it. This is his second year here. Now he fully implemented his system. I am all for it. I'm fine. Like I said, it all comes down to health, though. We talked the other day about them gelling. I think their games mesh well together. But it comes down to health, and if it means Nick Nurse has to put in a little bit of overtime trying to plan out his rotations on the second days of back-to-back, that's okay. And I think he's fully capable of doing it. But tomorrow, we will go over my predictions for the Sixers for this year. I've already told you I'm very bullish, but am I bullish enough to get them out of the second round? Tune in tomorrow. All right, finally today, we're going to go back to 2009. And on this day in 2009, it was Game 5 of the NLCS. We talked earlier this month about the Red October great games in Phillies postseason history. This game did not make it, but the game before did. So going into Game 5, the Phillies were coming off those late inning heroics by Jimmy Rollins when he hit the walk-off double in Game 4. They had an off day, and they were coming back to Citizens Bank Park on this day back in 2009 to face their old pal, Vicente Padilla, was on the mound for the Dodgers. They got one in the top of the first, but then Jayson Werth hit a 3-run shot in the bottom of the first, put the Phils up 3-1. James Looney answered with a home run in the top of the second to make it 3-2. But then Pedro Feliz put the Phillies back up by 2 in the bottom of the second with a solo shot. And then it was party time at Citizens Bank Park. The route was on. Jayson Werth hit another homer. Shane Victorino hit a homer. Jayson Werth ended the day going 3 for 4, 4 RBIs, those 2 home runs. Shane Victorino had 3 RBI as the Phillies went to their second straight World Series, beating the Dodgers for the second straight year, 4-1 in the NLCS. And that all happened on this day in 2009. We don't have to talk about what happened in the World Series, but on this day, the Phillies went back to the World Series for the second straight year with a 10-2 victory over the Giants. See, I like beating the Giants so bad, they're on my mind. Over the Dodgers down at Citizens Bank Park. Pedro Feliz, Jayson Werth, Shane Victorino all hit home runs for the Phils that day, as it was just party central. All right, we will do our Sixers prediction for the season tomorrow. It's also Tuesday, so that means it's time for a little bit of positivity. Let me know who your go to the game is. Is it Saquon, Jalen Hurts, Jalen Carter, or Nakobe Dean? 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. Pretty sure I know where everybody's going with this. That's all right. If we have 100%, I don't think one person, except maybe Jalen Hurts, Jalen Carter, and Nakobe Dean, would argue if you vote for Saquon Barkley for the GOAT. But get anything else Philly sports related off your chest. Mondays feel so much better when the Eagles win. This one's even especially better because it was against the Giants and it was a blowout. And Daniel Jones only had 99 yards. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for October 21st, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Monday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.